So tonight for dinner I'm going to be making one of my absolute favorite things, and that is chicken Caesar salad, but I've decided to make it with crispy chicken instead of grilled or pan-cooked chicken, which is extra super tasty. And so the star of this salad is the crispy chicken, and I'm going to show you how I make crispy chicken. It's pretty awesome, but it is a little bit involved. You can see there's a lot of stuff here, and all of this is just for the chicken. So we start with thinly sliced chicken. You can also cook chicken strips in the same way. Basically, I'm just taking chicken escalope and using that from the supermarket. We've got a small bowl of milk, any kind of milk that you like. I don't, in this case, recommend soy milk. It's a little bit sweet, and you're going for a savory chicken here. I've got 3 whole eggs. All I'm going to do is crack these into the bowl and whisk them up. So they're just going to be scrambled eggs, basically. I've got a container of plain white flour, and I have a container of breadcrumbs. And the reason I chose to lay all this out like this is because this is what we're going to coat the chicken in step by step. And we're going to start today with the flour, because the place where you put the seasoning for fried chicken is actually in the flour. And boy, do I have a lot of seasonings today. Since this is sort of an Italian-inspired dish, I have some Italian seasonings, as well as a few of my own that I really like in fried chicken. I don't have any quantities for this. I'm just going to sprinkle until it feels right, basically. I'm going to begin with paprika, so I'll start there. And then I'm going to put in some cayenne pepper for a little bit of spice. Not a ton of cayenne pepper, just a little sprinkle. I'm going to follow it up with some garlic salt. Good in any fried chicken. And now for the Italian spices. I'm going to put in some oregano. There we go. I'm going to put in a little bit of rosemary. A little bit goes a long way. Rosemary is very strong. I'm going to put in a little bit of thyme. I'll put in some basil. And finally, I'll put in some parsley. You can also save yourself a little bit of effort. And in your grocery store, I bet they sell an Italian spice mix. You could absolutely use that. So now with all of our spices and our flour, I'm going to grab a fork, I'm going to mix it up, and then we'll be ready to start coating our chicken. I've had a chance now to mix up the spices in my flour, and you can also see that I've cracked and beaten my eggs. What you can't see is that on my stovetop I have a pan with about 1 centimeter of cooking oil. Preheating. I want that to preheat over medium heat. I don't want to burn the chicken when I cook it. That's really easy to do. I want it to be a nice golden brown, so on my oven settings of up to 9, I think I've got it about a 4.5, slowly preheating for me. So what we have here is we have our escalope right here, and the trick to doing this, unless you want your fingers to be thoroughly coated in all 4 of these things, is to have a wet hand and a dry hand. In this case, I use my left hand as my wet hand and my right hand as my dry hand. My left hand will pick up the chicken from milk and egg, and my right hand will pick it up from flour and from breadcrumbs. So we start with a piece of chicken, and it goes milk to flour. Switch to your dry hand, and you've got to get the flour all over the chicken. Turn him over a couple of times, get him coated in all the little cracks and crevices. You don't want a ton of extra flour sitting on top of your chicken though, so you're going to give him a little shake and then place him in the egg, back to wet hand. And this can be a little tricky because the egg can develop these little bubbles where it just seems to run right off the flour, so flip him over a few times, let him drain just a little bit, and then into the breadcrumbs, back to your dry hand. And this is the part where I actually like to press the chicken into the breadcrumbs a little bit to give it a really nice, even coating. And also it flattens out the chicken a little bit, which can help it cook a little bit faster. Because what you'll find is that the outside of the chicken is going to brown pretty quickly, and what you don't want, obviously, is raw chicken. So I like to push a little bit on my chicken. And you just want to make sure he's coated on all sides and top and bottom. And when you think he's good to go, oh, a little bit on the end there. There we go. When you think he's good to go, give him a little shake. You can place him on the plate. And the chicken can wait here just like this for a minute. And in fact, it could wait here for 10, 15, 20 minutes, and it's going to be just fine. And there we have 4 delicious, crispy Italian chicken scallops ready to fry up in our preheating pan. I'm going to go wash my hands and then we can continue with the recipe. While we give our oil a little bit of time to preheat, I'm actually going to prepare the rest of my salad because it's so darn easy. So I have here a couple of really nice fresh tomatoes. I have some delicious grated Parmesan cheese, and most importantly, I have romaine lettuce. Now these are hearts of romaine, which is perfectly fine. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start by tidying up my romaine. And basically all that means is that there's always going to be on the outside some browned bits or maybe some wilted bits. I'm just going to take a moment to clean those off so that our salad is fresh and crispy. I can simply chop off what's going to be really bitter at the bottom, and I can toss that and then start looking at what I'm actually going to use. The nice thing about a Caesar salad is we can do something called rough chop the lettuce, which means that it can be in like chunks and big pieces, and it's totally cool because it's meant to be that way. Alright, so with all of my salad chopped and separated out a bit and prepared, it's time for me to cut up my tomatoes. This is really easy because you can really cut your tomatoes in any shape that you like. I'm going to do it kind of in like a little dice. And when I say little, I actually mean fairly large pieces because I love me some tomato. And since our lettuce pieces are bigger, it makes sense for our tomato pieces to be bigger. So my tomato pieces are going to be about that size. And there we have my finished tomato. Now since my Parmesan cheese is already grated and my salad is prepared, all we got to do is cook the chicken and then we are done. So from the smell of the oil, I'm thinking that we are preheated. It's feeling pretty darn good, not too hot, I hope. We'll find out when we put in our first piece of chicken. There are a few things that you always want in place before you deep fry anything or before you pan fry anything. Number 1, you want to have your chicken or whatever you're deep frying 100% ready so it's ready to go. You want another plate with 4 or 5 paper towels on it. This is what you're going to remove the chicken onto to soak up some of the excess grease, and you want it ready because your chicken can go from done to burnt sooner than you think. The final tool that you absolutely want ready is a good pair of heat-proof tongs. That's going to allow you to move the chicken back and forth as you need to and to move it out of the pan safely. You're going to want probably a long sleeve shirt. Oil can spatter upward or outward, so you want to be careful. That's why I'm wearing my cooking apron as well to protect my clothing. So we are going to put in a tester piece of chicken and see how warm our oil is. If I feel like our oil is warm enough, then I'll probably put more chicken in right now. And we're going to gently lay the chicken down away from us so that if it splatters that way. And it's looking like our oil is perfect, so I'm going to put in a second piece of chicken. It's a nice, slow, gentle boil, but we want to see those bubbles because if we don't, then the coating can actually just be soaking up oil and getting really greasy and soggy. In fact, I might even turn up the temperature, but just a little bit. We can already hear a change. It's in the sound. It's a little bit louder now. In my horrible camera, you can't see it, but there's a little bit of browning around the edges. We're not going to cook this chicken for very long, just a minute or 2 on both sides. In fact, I'm already prepared to check the other side of this chicken. And I think it's time to flip. We want a nice golden to deep golden brown. So these are looking very, very nice. We don't want burnt, and we most certainly don't want underdone chicken. Let's have a look at the other side of our chicken. He could go a little longer. We're all right. So we can very gently, without dropping the chicken, remove him from the pan. Maybe give him a little teeny tiny dribble time. There we go. You see that there? Time to take him out. My kitchen smells awesome, by the way. Whoop, whoop. Give him a second to drain. And now it's time for our last 2 pieces of chicken. And the time has finally come to assemble because our chicken is cooling right behind me. So I'm going to take my romaine lettuce. I'm going to dump in all of my tomatoes. I'm going to add a little bit more than half of my Parmesan cheese. Just sprinkle that on around in there. We're only reserving enough Parmesan cheese to like sprinkle on the top of our salads as a garnish. There's lots of Parmesan. I'm going to take my favorite Caesar dressing and just kind of pour, honestly. I can always add more, so I might start out on the slow side. And then I'm going to roll up my sleeves because I've washed my hands. The best way to mix this salad, or really any large salad, is with your hands. So here we go. And the reason it's the best way is because what we don't want is a pile of tomatoes at the bottom of our salad hiding. We don't want a bunch of dressing up top and none at the bottom. We want a nice even mix of all of our ingredients. And as my grandma taught me, this is the best way to do it. So we're going to serve our salad in large bowls. Since this is a dinner, actually, we want quite a bit of salad. And I've gone ahead and washed the exact same tongs that I used for my chicken because they work so well for this too. I'm just going to pile some salad in there. I'll take one of the cooler pieces of chicken and I'm just going to slice it into some nice slices. Maybe diagonally like this. There we go. And then, in whatever way you like, you're going to get this chicken into that bowl. For me, I like being fancy about it. And I very carefully pick up the chicken with my knife and just lay it right onto the side of the salad just like that. And then final touches, little bit of extra Parmesan cheese, just right there on top, and a little bit of ground black pepper. And there we have some crispy chicken Caesar salad. Enjoy.